This is going to be a video about my commentary concerning not the Alec Baldwin shooting incident on the Rust movie set, but everybody very stereotypically making absolutely sure it's ambiguous. His gun fired a single time as he removed it from the holster. He said he did not pull the trigger. The scene involved Baldwin's character removing the gun from its holster and then pointing it towards the camera. Okay, and there's no recording of this happening, so we don't have the recording. And the first response most people will have is, well, you wouldn't want to see the recording. The second one is, it's absolutely critical to have a recording of this. Film crew members said that they normally, or other people said that film crew members normally spin the gun cylinder to determine if there are blanks in it, or live rounds. The ambiguity of people saying a live round could also be a blank cartridge. I understand that. I've even supported that that could be something someone would say, but why would you have ambiguity? An expert describing the specific gun, a solid frame Piata 45 Long Colt revolver, a design started in the 1870s, but this is from Piata and it's probably very recent, not stating the year it was made, not stating the model name, and then the gun expert referring to one that was purchased at a local store, not the actual gun on set. The effort, the obnoxious, crazy level of effort of people not showing the front, back, top, bottom, right and left side, or just the right and left side of the gun, so that we can easily figure out exactly what gun it is. Anyway, the gun expert using an unrelated gun. It's not easy to check this gun for cartridges, blanks or otherwise. I'm going to substitute the correct word, cartridges. The only way you could check it would be to open it. He's not describing that. Then they say, you can't really tell without dropping the rounds and looking at the rounds. You put this particular gun he was holding, not necessarily the one Alec Baldwin had, half cock. Open your gate. So it's a side-loading gate. Is on the right or left side. I believe this one's on the right from the photos, but again, we don't have a picture of the actual gun that did get involved in this, that Alec Baldwin was holding when this happened. The gun. Serial number and everything visible. No censorship, no alterations, no questions to ask. You open the gate. I'm assuming it's on the right-hand side. So if you're holding it in the right hand, you flip your thumb over to the side and flip it open, or you open it with the other hand. Turn the firearm in a safe direction. Push the ejector to knock out the cartridges. The expert says point the gun upward. The expert said push the ejector down. That's not how to describe how to eject cartridges. There's a side and ejector you use to pop the cartridges out through the gate you've opened. You point the gun at something that you don't care if you destroy by accident. But how could that happen? There are recorded cases of the act of attempting to eject a cartridge having set it off. How is that? Because the bullet had decayed chemically in the mouth of the cartridge, and the act of pushing it back in a gun where it was stuck meant that the bullet was pushing into the propellant. This caused enough of an aggravation to the propellant because it was extremely bad or sweaty or chemically unbalanced or whatever, and it went off, fired the rod, part of the man's finger, and hit something. No, let's point it straight up in the air just in case it goes off. That way it'll hit somebody absolutely random. No, you aim it in a barrel full of water. For a short time in the year 2000, in the late or early 2000s, very vague statement from another news source, they marketed a Colt Cowboy 45 with a transfer bar safety. A search warrant confirmed 12 revolvers, a rifle, and one live round, but they can't specify whether it was a blank or a loaded bullet, a cartridge with a bullet in it, were in a white prop truck on the set. Then I get Brandon Herrera, let's go Brandon Herrera, doing Gun Mean reviews, trying to make this about Biden. Now, some of you are already getting this connection because you already know what's causing this. Alec Baldwin spent years insulting Donald Trump on national television. People want him to be punished for that. But lying about whether or not a gun could go off because of a problem with the gun, a badly maintained gun, not Alec Baldwin's fault, a badly maintained gun that did not have a definitive cocked, half-cocked, or whatever position to a single-action revolver. Is it a single action or not? Is it a double action where you can pull the trigger and it'll fire? Or do you have to pull the hammer back a specific distance to make it go off reliably, or halfway that can still set it off if it gets knocked loose? Or if it's not taken care of correctly, or if parts are missing or have fallen out. Did anybody take the fucking gun apart to find out what went wrong with the gun, if anything? No, it's not like CSI where anybody would do something as simple as hand it to a fucking gunsmith to find out if the fucking thing's broken. No, that can't be in the news. And remember, it's not about Alec Baldwin making conservatives furious with him for years. And this happening, and they saying, it's ironic that he was involved in a shooting accident with a defective gun or defective rounds or whatever. It's ironic because he's so anti-gun. And he says he didn't fire the gun. You know, that is very unlikely, I understand that. But everyone's refusing to find out definitive answers because they're all lawyering up now. Meanwhile, the gun may have been badly maintained, have nothing to do with Alec Baldwin in any way, shape, or form, and that's it. But, oh wait a minute, Alec Baldwin must have loaded the round because that's how it would cause us. After all, if it was just loaded with blanks, or if it had nothing in it, then it couldn't be anything Alec Baldwin did that was bad. It wouldn't have been a tragedy. The proximate cause of this was a loaded round on set getting into the gun at some point. No one is accusing Alec Baldwin of loading a live round, a real round. Yeah, a live round means it's got propellant, primer, and projectile. Not any of these components missing. If you load a primer only, no propellant and a projectile, if you just load just two of the components, it'll get stuck in the barrel. And if you load a blank afterwards, which is propellant and primer only, then it's a combination that makes the bullet. All three components need to be there for being definitively lethal, but any one of them missing will make it potentially lethal. Yes, a blank cartridge can kill you dead or in hell if it's close enough. So let's review. Alec Baldwin spends years and years insulting the living shit out of a sitting president getting away with it. A bunch of people have an axe to grind against him. And I'm seeing this ooze out like an improperly cinched up anus squirting bile and filth out of YouTubers that should know better than to ignore basics. It's a Piata, 45 long Colt revolver, single action, solid frame was what was used as a wording. Good luck looking that up. The design is from the 1800s, but I guarantee you this thing was made much more recently. An expert explaining you should point the gun up in the air while you're ejecting the cartridges. Yeah, well, at least you only take your finger out if it's a extremely fucked up round. Yeah, that really does happen. Okay, now why I'm bringing this video up. There were live rounds on the set. Obviously, a live round was put into the gun. No one is even thinking of accusing Alec Baldwin of loading a live round. Therefore, it's not his fault. If he was handed a gun that was supposed to have blanks, or if he was handed a gun that was supposed to have dummy rounds that don't do anything, it just go click, him doing what he did should not have caused the death. He says he didn't even pull the trigger. Now, that may seem like way out there, Bill, but it isn't. Any gun, if it's old enough or beaten up or just abused, can have the functions of it damaged. Yes, I'm going to be using the reference of zinc bullshit grade toy cap guns when I was a kid. Pot metal cap guns often have almost identical mechanisms for some of the parts anyway, for running the release of the hammer after it's been pulled back, and for double actions especially. And they're very notorious for wearing out. And I've fixed a few. Now I'm going to bring up Lunkers TV with Demolition Ranch Matt visiting, and them handling a Thompson Center pistol. This is a pistol where you could break the action, disconnect the barrel, and put on any other caliber you wanted to. They had it loaded with a pretty heavy round. And I think it's Lunkers TV. It could be a different channel, but pretty sure it was. And he pulls back on the hammer and lets go of it, and it fires the cartridge. Because here's our layers, here's our hammer, here's the trigger piece that pulls out of the way. You pull it back half cock. Let's say that's half cock. But that part can chip away pretty easily. Pull it back this far, it's full cock. Or maybe it only has one position. He pulls it back to here, either didn't pull it back far enough, or what they found out is it didn't matter if you pull it back far enough, the thing would just click past. Did Alec Baldwin pull back the hammer? Or do any of the other, quote-unquote, 6 things you'd have to do to have the gun go off? And then they quote chapter and verse, including loading it, which Alec Baldwin had nothing to do with. Yes, he should have checked it. But from the expert's description, this is a gun where you have to unload it to find out if it's loaded. You have to go through all the motions for all 6 fucking cylinders. More if it's got more of them. I mean, not this gun, but other guns do. And, or something else. And, of course, he describes pointing it up in the air and doing a bunch of things. I would tell people, you're not allowed to work on the set anymore if you do that. I don't care if it's training. Don't do it. I don't care if you've been taught to do that. I don't care if the gun expert told you to do that. Don't. Why? Because a mile away a bullet hits somebody. We're liable. You will not point the gun up in the air. You will point it at the damn dirt, and you'll point it at the berm. We had a designated berm and a water bucket. Well, a water barrel. You will point it in the water barrel. Well, that's just pussy bullshit. You're fired. They'd run off. Director comes back. You fired or yes, I fired him. You can hire him back. He has to go through the entire process all over again. Isn't this slow and painful and expensive? Yeah, or you can tell him to follow the fucking rules. Because I had the authority to fire someone immediately if they did anything involving a gun I didn't like. Didn't matter if it was on a book. You will point the gun at all times at something that you don't give a shit about shooting. You will never point it at a human being. All you have to do on a set is have dummy guns that can't do any of these things, that are very, 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 very incapable of even opening or loading a cartridge. You can make one out of one of these Piatas. They're not that expensive. You can braze them shut to where it's a freaking hero gun. The hero gun is the one that looks good. You get really good close-ups on it. Always looks loaded. You can make a second one where half the cylinders are empty if you want. So you can make it toward their, so you have, matches up what's happening in the scene. But you don't have to have a gun on set that even has the ability to work. You can make it to where nothing happens. There's so many things to criticize about this that, a litany of shit. My complaint today is 2 things. Politically and ideologically motivated jerks that are giving themselves a free pass to say things that are not accurate about firearms and their gun channels. Fuck them. My other problem is the news, and more importantly, the people who are there who are supposed to be revealing this information. You only have a certain number of suspects. What happened? Oh, well, we're going to be vague about it. No. At this point, I don't think anyone should listen to the news at all, and I don't think the police department in the area should be trusted at all. I have a very, very, very low threshold for bullshit from police departments. You are in possession of a gun that you can have a gunsmith take apart and show you what's wrong with it. You didn't do that day one? How the fuck aren't you doing that? Also, I should point out that a random bit of garbage could get in there and make it toward the sear, or whatever you want to call it. Yes, there's 2 different names. Go look up the others besides sear. Could have not made. Did he pull back the hammer? Is he discussing details? Does he even remember? After something like this happens, maybe he can't remember because, honestly, in shock, a person might forget what happened, which is bad, but that's what happens. And my rule, on a movie set, can we cheaply record everything? Well, yes or no? Yes, then you will do so. Why? Liability. And then I have a lawyer, sick our own lawyers on the guy until the fucking director says, okay, a video camera works. And a video camera can be used for all sorts of things, like determining why a lighting piece of equipment almost killed somebody. No one likes doing what will work for some reason. No one likes making things clear. But let's address the elephant in the room. Alec Baldwin insulted somebody's hero, and they're willing to torch him. Do I believe he didn't do anything, didn't do nothing? No, I don't believe Alec Baldwin did that at all. Do I believe he could have had this happen without pulling the trigger? Yes. Yes, it could. Is anybody making any attempt to find out if that's factual? Apparently, no. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.